Hi, my name is Terri Sproul and I want to welcome you to my studio. Today I'm going to show you a really cool technique on how to make your own background paper or your own paper for a cover of a book, because that's actually what I'm doing for my project that I'm making. And we're going to be using Miracle Sheets. Miracle Sheets you can get from Viva Las Vegastamps, and that's at stampo.com. And this is actually the technique that I'm going to show you how to make, and this one I'm going to actually make into a book cover when I'm done with it. But you can definitely do the same technique and make a background paper. So this is a great way to learn how to make your own background paper. So come on down to my workspace and let's start playing. Well, welcome down here to my workspace. I'm going to show you how to do a really cool technique using Miracle Sheets and some leftover scrapbook paper. So Miracle Sheets you can get from Viva Las Vegastamps, and that's at stampo, stampo.com. So you can do this technique a couple different ways. You can use chipboard, or you can use cardstock. I'm going to actually use chipboard this time because I want to turn mine into a book later on. So this is actually going to be a cover of a book that I'm making for a friend of mine. So I cut a piece of chipboard to the size I want, and I wanted a 5x7, so I used chipboard from, I like to recycle, so this is from a soda box, or you could use a cereal box, something like that. And you need some Miracle Sheet. I cut it just a tiny bit larger than my chipboard. Now the easiest way to deal with this is to peel one side of the Miracle Sheets off, because you know this is a double-sided adhesive. So I'm just going to start it on one side here and pull just a tiny bit off. See that? And then I'm going to lay it down on top of my chipboard. Or, like I said, you could use cardstock. And then I like to use a credit card or anything like that. And you can just start laying it down as you pull away from the protective layer. So as you see, I'm pulling on one side and pushing it down on the other side so it gets a really good adhesion. So I got this one side all adhered to my chipboard. Go through, make sure you got a good adhesion. Good job. Okay, there we go. Now, I'm going to peel off the other side. Now, I've got this extra, so I'm going to cut that off real quick. Get that out of the way. So, okay, now to peel off, I have a whole stack of miscellaneous leftover scrapbook paper that's all in shades of pink because my friend loves pink, so I'm doing her a pink book. And I've got vellum, and I've got all different kinds of cardstock. Some of it actually has texture and embossed and stuff like that, so just pull out a great pile. I even took this piece and I even stamped a bunch of flowers on it using a pink ink, and it was a pink piece of paper originally. So now I'm going to peel off the other side of the protective layer, and now we just have adhesive. So that whole thing is adhesive. So now I'm going to go through and I'm going to just start laying down pieces of cardstock, and I'm not going to worry about if they're completely on there. I'm going to let them hang off the edge. I'm just going to keep picking up pieces and just keep laying down pieces of cardstock, and I'm also using, like I said, vellum. Nothing, no rhyme, no reason, just getting it on my sheet here. Some different shades of pink. Getting it all laid down. I really like the way this turns out at the end. It's really a lot of fun. So I want to add this piece because I really like this stuff. Okay. Making sure I'm getting a good variety in here. A little bit of everything. Good color combo. I'm not worrying about all these pieces they're not glued down, so don't worry about that. It's all going to be fixed in the long run of our little design here. Okay. Okay, now, so basically at this point I have my piece of chipboard all covered. I know it doesn't look pretty at this point, but it will. Now, I like to turn my chipboard over, or your piece of paper, remember you could do this on cardstock, and trim away all the excess. I'm going around just with a pair of scissors. You could also use your craft knife, or you could use a trimmer, also paper trimmer, whatever you're the most comfortable with. I happen to like these scissors because they're Teflon coated, so they don't stick to the pieces of miracle sheet that's sticking out on the edge here. So it'll allow me to be a little easier on me. Okay, perfect. Okay, get rid of all my excess over there. Get it out of the way. Now at this point, I want to kind of blend it a little bit. So I'm going to use a sea sponge and some dye ink, and I'm just using a really light pink here. And I'm going to get my ink pad, my sponge real inked up. And I'm going to go in and I'm going to kind of blend it so it gets rid of some of this white and becomes more blended, more kind of more the same color, even though it's not going to be the same color. You'll understand. It kind of goes from this to, see how this is more blended. Now I used all cardstock on this particular one, but on here this is a die cut, and this is a rub-on that I actually added. So you can add rub-ons and all kinds of die cut images, anything to this while it's still inked up here. Okay, now got that kind of blended in, got rid of a lot of those white spots that I don't like. Okay, put the lid back on that. Now I'm going to grab some PPA. This is actually from US Art Quest, but you could probably use Mod Podge also. And I'm just going to grab a little bit out there. And I'm going to use a sponge brush. And this is where you're going to go in and this is going to do two things. It's going to seal your project down, and it's also going to get all those pieces that are sitting a little high that didn't get adhered down because there was no miracle sheet at the bottom. All those pieces I told you not to worry about, this is how we're going to fix them. So here we're going in and we're just slobbing this down, getting everything adhered down. And I'm using matte here. PPA comes in a matte and a glossy. I like the matte for this particular look, but if you wanted a glossy image or glossy finish, your PPA glossy would work just as well as the PPA matte. So, getting it all adhered down. And I believe Mod Podge even comes, well, not believe, I know for sure, Mod Podge comes in a matte and a glossy also. So you could use, like I said, Mod Podge for the same technique, even though I am a big PPA fan. So there we go. Now I'm just going to let that sit off and dry, and that will actually become a solid piece of paper like this one. Now if you were doing this as a piece of paper instead of chipboard, think about this is your background paper. How cool is that? Now this is going to end up becoming a cover for my book later on, and that's going to be the back cover. And I'm going to put stickers and all kinds of stuff on here. So thanks for joining me here at my studio. Remember, you can get your miracle sheets at Vegastampo.com. Thank you for joining me here in my studio.